Hi, this is Bird from Bird's SVGs, and in this video I'm going to be putting the Coffin Luminary together, and this is from the Creak and Shriek SVG collection. First things first, I'm going to put my plinth together. Now the sides of the plinth comes in 4 pieces, so you basically want to alternate these as you stick them together, because one side is slightly wider than the other side. So you want to alternate the pieces to create a rectangle shape. See, I'm just checking there that I've got the right one. Because they do look quite similar, but 2 of them are slightly larger than the other 2. So I'm joining them together, the 4 pieces, using the bottommost tab. And then what I'm going to do then is, while it's all flat, I'm going to add the pattern paper layers to my plinth. So that kind of does 2 things. It's easier to stick them on when it's flat because you can kind of push against your desk. But also it makes it a little bit sturdier for when you're putting it together, which I find, you know, helps put things together a little bit better if they're a bit sturdier. They kind of fall into place a little bit better. So I'm just making sure that I've got the pieces in the right place. They can only go in one spot, and it won't take it, so it's very easy to find out which piece goes where. And then one by one I'm going to glue these pieces into place. They've all got a border around the outside of them, so you just want to make sure that they're central within the panel. And because we've folded along all the score lines in the plinth, it makes it easier for positioning your layers on top. Okay, so I'm going to carry on adding all of my layers, and here I am onto the last section. The pattern paper I used here is from the Spellcast collection by Pink Paisley. I thought these pieces would work perfectly because they've got this kind of marbled effect, and I thought that would be really cool for the plinth. But obviously any paper you've got, you could even use plain paper and maybe even emboss it. That could look cool. Okay, now I'm going to actually close up my plinth. Just putting some pressure on the inside and making sure that tab is taken. Now the next set of tabs to go into place are kind of like little triangle shapes, and if you pop a hand inside, it actually makes it an awful lot easier to put this together. So you've got the pressure from your fingers on the inside against the pressure of your thumb on the outside, and it really does help to put your layers together. So again, just pop some glue onto that little triangular tab piece, and then make sure that you've joined the 2 pieces together right on the score line, so right on the kind of perforation. Again, I'm kind of squeezing the card between my hands because I've got a hand inside, so I'm putting pressure on the inside with my fingers and the outside as well. So, and this last one is a little bit tricky, so I'm putting some glue on from the inside. Okay, so my plinth is starting to take shape now. Just got this top layer to put together, and this one's easier, they're at right angles. So I'm bending the pieces out to put the glue on. It's a lot easier to see what I'm doing. And this piece here doesn't actually have any pattern paper on it because this is what's going to slide inside the coffin. So the coffin will actually slide down over this section here. I'm just pinching the two layers together between my fingers. And then that last one, I'm just getting it again from the inside. Okay, that's pretty much it. We've just got our top and bottom to pop on now. So I'm popping my top into place, just making sure that the edges are all lined up. Then I'll pop it over and I'll just push down on the tabs from the inside. I'm just using a bone folder here because I'm not sure if I can get my hand in there, but I can. So I'm just pushing down, making sure that it's all nicely in place. And I'm leaving my base till last because obviously the base won't be seen. And it just pops into place. I'm just making sure that all the edges are meeting. You can't obviously get your hand inside at this point, but I'm just trying to rub it against my desk a little bit, just running my fingers around and just trying to make sure that it's all meeting and touching and taking hold as best I can. Okay, so we've got this little sign to go on the front of our plinth saying RIP. And I've just added a little bit of gilding wax to this, just to give the layer some definition, because I actually cut mine out of the same colour. If you wanted to add a different colour for a bit more definition or a bit, a little bit more contrast, it's the middle piece there with the two cutouts that you would want to cut in a different colour. The front layer and the back layer need to be the same colour. Now the front layer is a little bit smaller, so there'll be a little border around it. And I've just popped some 3D glue dots onto the back of that, so it just has a little bit of dimension. Okay, so now I'm going to put the luminary itself together. Now I've gone around all of my panels and I've added some gilding wax to them. And then I'm going to just glue them onto their layers. This is actually the back of the luminary. But I figured you may not have it against a wall. You may have it on a table or something like that, especially if it's going to be a centerpiece at a party. So I wanted it to look good all the way around. So this is actually the back of the luminary. Okay, and again, this is the front, but it's still got a layer, like a panel, that goes on top. Then I'm going to carry on and I'm going to add my panels to all of my side pieces. It's much easier to add them while the pieces are flat on your desk. And of course it makes them a little bit more sturdy when you're putting them together, which does make it a little bit easier. This is actually quite a big project. Once it's together, it's nearly 14 inches tall. So it does really help to have these panels on there. It gives it a little bit more rigidity. Okay, now these pieces are going together and it's quite important that you get them in the right way, although it's very difficult to get it wrong. The topmost piece, so the piece that sits right on top of your luminary, doesn't have any tabs on it. And then next to it is the next size up, so the slightly bigger tabs, or slightly bigger panels. So they go either side of the smallest piece. And then either side of those goes the big side panels. So basically from the outwards inwards, they gradually get smaller. So I'm putting them together in one long strip. Then once I'm happy that the glue's taken hold, I can pop my back on. And then that'll give it its shape. So first of all, I'm just going to put glue on one of the tabs. It's like having an extra hand because it kind of steadies the piece. And then when you go to put the other tabs into place, it's already kind of cemented there in one area. And then it's like a lever because I can put glue on all the other sides and then just lever that bit over. Okay, so I've bent it out the way for now so I can put all the glue on. Okay, so it looks like I've decided to do one tab at a time. That probably makes sense because it's quite big. So if I put glue on all of them at the same time, it might dry. So I'm making sure I've got some good right angles, that it's meeting on the corners, and it's looking nice and tidy. So I've already added gilding wax to the panels, but then once it's assembled, I'll go ahead and add some gilding wax to all of the corners and the edges as well, just to finish it off. It gives some dimension, because I wanted my panels to be the same colour as the coffin base itself, but I also wanted it to stand out. If I used this gold gilding wax, it's actually from Tonic, but I think silver could look cool as well. So if you've got silver, you know, go ahead and use that. Okay, that's the back and the sides together on the luminary piece. Okay, so we're just going to put this front on, and the front's kind of like a frame, because we'll be putting a vellum layer in with a skeleton behind, which will actually be kind of the light up section. So just like I did on the back, I'm putting the glue on one tab. Then I can flip that out the way while I put the glue on the other tabs. I'm being brave this time and putting it on all of them. Okay, one thing I should mention is, please don't use a naked flame inside this luminary. But any electronic lighting device you've got, whether it's a bundled up string of lights, a pillar candle, an LED light, they'll all, you know, whatever will fit, you know, you can use. Okay, I'm using, so this is my vellum piece, and I'm popping my skeleton behind my vellum. Oh, here's Lily to join in. Now, I needed to just add 2 pieces of vellum at the top and bottom, just to catch my skeleton. So I just want to catch the top of his head and the bottom of his feet. But it's okay, because that will actually be hidden behind the frame of the front, so you won't see where that double-sided tape is. I've made sure that it's not as wide as the frame is. And then I'm going to add some more double-sided tape around the edge of my vellum. The reason for this is I'm going to be putting an acetate layer on top now. It sandwiches the skeleton between that and the vellum. But the main reason is, and it was an idea of my dad's actually, which was a really good idea, is it because vellum can be a little bit flimsy, and especially if you use wet glue or anything, it can kind of get a little bit, it can buckle. But adding acetate to it made it a lot sturdier, and it stands lovely and flat and straight. I've got absolutely no buckling or wrinkling or anything like that. And I think if I just had the vellum on its own, it might just wrinkle a little bit, especially over time. So it's got acetate behind it just to make it lie nice and flat. Okay, so now that's in place, we can pop it on top of our plinth. And there we are, ready to go. It's a really easy project to pop together. I did go ahead and add some gilding wax to all of the edges and popped a light inside. It's as simple as that. I really hope that you enjoy this. It's a really quite a big project that has great impact, especially if you're having a party or you just want it for some Halloween decor at home. It adds some real impact. It's a really nice size project, but it's ever so easy to put together. So I hope you really enjoy it.